Welcome in Philadelphia to another edition of Trust the Process Live here only on MyNEWPhilly. We're in the MyNEWPhilly studios today. On my right, Mr. Five Digits, Max Coolish on my left, JJ James Jackson. I am Sean Northgrave, your host, reminding you all to share this show. And if you have something that inspires you, go ahead and drop us a comment. Fellas, how you doing tonight?
I'm good.
I feel good.
I'm good. It's great. A great warm night after a nice warm weekend. So I'm feeling springy.
I'm glad both of you feel great because the Sixers and Sixers fans probably not feeling that good. 5-5 in a recent stretch, and Joel Embiid broke his hand Monday in the Thunder game. Guys, who needs to step up?
I mean, the obvious answer has to be Harris. It has to be the guy that you're expecting to be the 1B, even with Embiid there. I feel like that's the obvious answer, but as a Sixers fan, I can't reasonably come to any conclusion that isn't Ben Simmons needing to step up, well, no matter what the situation is. And maybe that's unfair to him. Maybe that's unfair to what his role is supposed to be on the team. But it just feels like if this guy is supposed to be one of the other cornerstones, it should be him stepping up, and it should be him taking the reins on this. And I will say this, he has been playing better before Embiid got hurt. When they were on that abysmal stretch of games, he was playing like the only one who gave a damn, if I'm being totally honest. And I feel like he needs to not do that lackadaisical thing where he's like, oh, I'm so skilled on Ben Simmons. I'm the number one.
That's him now.
I'm the number one pick in the draft, and I can just do whatever I want, and triple-doubles come my way. And it feels like he's kind of starting to turn that corner. It feels like since the shot stuff has, I don't want to say the noise because he's actually taken a couple this year, but now people are expecting it, and it feels like this has to be the corner that he's turning. And it feels like he's starting to play more aggressively on a night-to-night basis. The shooting from range is still not there yet, but I see him at least taking more of those, like 8 to 12-foot hook shots, which is, it's something, man. I'll take it, honestly. I'll take whatever I can get.
You're real desperate if you're living with 8 to 10.
If my second best player is taking more shots and getting himself going offensively more often and more consistently, especially early in the game, when I was watching the Pacers game even tonight, he had 8 of the Sixers' first 15 points. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for, and he's starting to show that more consistently.
I think the reason why I go away from Tobias Harris is a little bit is because when I think of step up, I think of doing more than you're currently doing right now to help fill a void. I'm not sure if we can expect Tobias Harris to do much more than the great games or the good games that he's having from a Tobias Harris standpoint. Also, you made a great point about the role that each person plays on the team. Tobias Harris, in the great games, in the 25 to 30 point, 10 rebound games, that's the role Tobias Harris is going to be in. If you're expecting him to go odds out and just completely command the team, that's not who Tobias Harris is. That's not what you got him for. So to expect him to do that is a little bit out of the realm of possibility. I do agree on the Ben Simmons, obviously, when you're first or second player.
Low-hanging fruit,
yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. You got two franchise players. When one goes out, the other franchise player has to, take up his load, make sure he does better. Who I think really needs to step up are the players who haven't been giving you much, and that's the primary role players, the bench players, the supporting cast, I should say, of the Sixers. When you have bench-heavy lineups against teams, you have abysmal output. When you have to give the combination of Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, and Joel Embiid a rest, you're not getting much input from those players. Now that Joel Embiid is out, that has to come. There's no choice but for it to come, and in bigger spurts and in more minutes. If you don't get that, then when Joel Embiid comes out or comes back, he's going to be fighting an uphill battle trying to get this team back into a top position in the Eastern Conference.
I want to ask you, do you think that this Embiid injury can act in a lot of the ways that the Durant injury a couple of years ago worked in OKC? The Westbrook injury worked a couple of years ago in OKC, where it unlocked Durant and it made that MVP season possible. Do you see something like that for Simmons?
I think I want to say yes, but it's like until he can start consistently taking over games just by scoring, then it's hard for me to go all the way to that point. I will say this, is that when Embiid went out last year at the end of the regular season, they busted off that huge win streak, and I think that helped that team really kind of gel in terms of the second unit to the first unit. Last year's team was also way different because they were just, it was just every couple of weeks it was like, hey, you're in the rotation.
Who stepped up when Joel Embiid went out last year? There's a clear person who stepped up who's not there this year who stepped up.
But it's also easier just to play devil's advocate because, I'm never going to get off the hill that I don't think the Jimmy Butler trade was anything more than a break even. And I think that was just the indication of the guy who's the best ISO player having to be the best ISO player more consistently because he's playing with 4 guys who just want to be in their spot around him and not
And
really.
I think that also speaks to the fact that your best ISO player right now is Josh Richardson. And if you want Josh Richardson to have those crazy breakout games, he's going to have to be put in those situations a lot more.
And speaking of Josh Richardson, he took home Player of the Week honors this week, an amazing week, 22 points per game. He had a couple assists, 51% from the field, 94% from the line, which I think is the most telling stat of them all. Can we expect this play consistently going forward from him?
I mean, maybe not 22 points a game. I mean, obviously he's getting more shots because Embiid's out. But, I mean, like I said before the season, Richardson is a very capable 16 to 20 points a game scorer. And they were talking about this on the broadcast against the game before the Mavericks, so I can't remember, the Celtics broadcast. They're talking about how Richardson's becoming more aggressive in the Oklahoma City game that you were in attendance at. They are citing that as kind of like the spark for him, becoming more assertive in the offense. So I'm not going to say 22 a game, and let's be honest, he has been doing a lot of the offensive work for the Sixers in the last, I guess, 3 or 4 games into tonight. But I don't think you can reasonably expect that. But I absolutely think that him being more aggressive makes the other wing easier to play off, which helps Harris or helps your bench guys who are struggling like Ennis and Scott.
Look, sometimes things happen as a blessing in disguise. Sometimes you don't want something to happen, but, silver linings come out of it. No one wants Joel Embiid to go out. But I think without even realizing it, Josh Richardson stepped up a little bit, especially in the Oklahoma City Thunder game. I saw it. Embiid went out, and he just went into attack mode. He's like, someone's got to get these buckets when he's not here. Why not it be me? And I think before he looked up, he was averaging 22 points, 3 assists on 50 from the field and 90 from the free throw line, and didn't even realize what he was doing. And I think that was a good thing, but for that same exact reason, I don't think it really, you're just right. I don't think we can expect that level of play to sustain itself. What we can expect is the mindset. Someone's got to get in Josh Richardson's ear and say, even when Joel Embiid comes back, it doesn't mean you have to forcefully take the ball inside and force shots up, but that aggressive nature and that go-get-it attitude on the offensive end kind of needs to stay there because that takes loads off of everybody else. If you get a third primary scorer, if you get a third bucket getter, which I don't think the Sixers have a third bucket getter right now, if Josh Richardson steps up into that role, that makes life so much easier for everyone else. And now the stars have more time to shine when it's time for the stars to shine.
And you guys mentioned Josh Richardson, who came over in the trade that sent Jimmy Butler out of here. And trades have become a commonplace for this team over the years. But you look around the roster, you look around the construct of the league, doesn't seem like there's many options. So do you guys think a trade is even an option?
I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I mean, I look around the roster and I see 2 things that simultaneously exist. I see holes that need to be fixed, and I see players that you can't really move. I look around the roster and I say, yeah, the Sixers probably would love to add a point guard who can control in the half court. The Sixers would probably love to add a wing shooter. Would probably love to add a 3-and-D. Who do you move? Because to get something, you got to give something. And if I look around the Sixers, I have 2 players locked up in max contracts. One who Al Horford, you didn't get Al Horford for the regular season. So why trade him before the regular season is done? You got him for playoff time. Then you look at the other big pieces to move. You're not going to move Matisse Thybulle, and that leaves you with the combination of, Norvel Pell, Mike Scott, James Ennis, Trey, but stuff that a team's really going to bite on these people. Who are you going to move? You need a trade, but how are you going to get it?
I don't know. At this point, trade doesn't feel like an option, so I gotta say you gotta bust out the coin bank if you're Allen Brand. You gotta be visitor number 1 for any serious buyout contenders. I don't know off the top of my head who of those people are. I'm sure we're gonna find out over the next couple of weeks as we kind of get to the last home stretch of the trade deadline and all that stuff. So I'm gonna say this is that trading it feels like it's an uphill battle, putting it mildly. I don't know. I don't know who you're going to move. I really don't.
The moving is, I think the moving, if you're really serious about going to get someone, the who you move needs to be the second thought. The who we want to go get needs to be the first thought. We'll figure out who we're going to move afterwards. And I think the best compromise in both of those scenarios, the one that feels like you're giving up the least to get something, is if you go and explore maybe Kyle Korver on the Bucks. Someone who's a little bit older but serves a very specific role for any offense he's built. Since he's with the Cavaliers, Cavaliers, Jazz, Bucks, he does one thing: stand in the corner and give me 15 to 20 good minutes and give me 3 or 4 made threes in the game. If you can do that, plus that's someone who may not command a huge trade haul, you may be able to finesse something for Kyle Korver.
And I think that's the right price tag. Iggy's out there, but Iggy's Memphis is kind of expecting a lot here for Iguodala. It feels like he's going to get bought out, honestly, but
moving into the 8th seed, they're going to want something. something.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, definitely. Well, that was the first half, very indicative of the Sixers season so far. A little wishy-washy.
I still have a ton of hope for this team. It is frustrating some nights, but I was at that Celtics game last Thursday, and it's just like they slept walk into the halftime, and the fourth quarter was just so dominant, and you just see flash, and it's like this team can win it all if it just, for lack of a better term, it just pulls its head out of its ass.
Look,
I don't know how else to say
wouldn't be a Sixers
sorry.
season if we weren't somewhere in the season thinking, what the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden we look up in March and they're a 3 seed. It just wouldn't be a Sixers season.
I know, and I'm hoping that's the case, but I guess we're going to find out. The 2 through 6 is so clumped right now.
Yeah.
It feels too early for me to definitively say, oh, there's no way we finish as a 2 seed. And also, I don't want to say there's no way we finish in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference either.
Not a lot of separation right now. Everybody out there, let me know if you think that there is a trade possible out there for the Sixers to make who you were bringing in, or maybe who you want to send out to possibly bring in. But that's the first half of our show, guys. We're going to move into our halftime now, presented by Kingsmark Cabinets with their new commercial.
Tom, this is amazing. Man, I should have went with Kingsmark from the beginning.
It was a pleasure working with you.
If I ever see that other contractor again.
Hey, big guy. Wife let me in. Just here to finish up those cabinets.
For all your cabinetry needs, contact Kingsmark Custom Cabinets and Design.
And welcome back to Trust the Process Live. We're moving in to our rapid fire segment for the second half of the show today, guys. We're going around the NFL. We're doing a little other football today as well. So we want to start with the story of the weekend, or the stories of the weekend, in my opinion, with Chiefs or the Titans. Guys, which do you think was more impressive? The Titans and the dominant performance that they had, or the Chiefs and the epic comeback they had?
I mean, it's
Yeah,
you flip a coin
yeah.
and whoever you want. I mean, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. It was a little more entertaining to watch. But the fact I watched the team absolutely, like, after the end of the first quarter, if you would have stopped the game right there and told me who's going to win the rest of this game, I'd be like, the Texans are going to win the rest of this game. Like, I had no idea what was going on.
You've
They
never
looked
watched Bill O'Brien,
That's
Steve,
true.
my friend.
True. He almost did it against the Bills. I almost watched him throw one away against the Bills, too. Yeah, he definitely won. He did his best. But then I watched Patrick Mahomes put up 51 in 3 quarters, go on 7 straight scoring drives. I mean, they had 4 touchdowns scored in a game span of, 8 minutes? Like, it was unbelievable. They were showing the graphic of the time of possession on each scoring drive. It went 50 seconds, 30 seconds, 48 seconds. Granted, they got a bunch of special teams plays and dealt with a lot of short fields, but you want to talk about, I've never seen a game flip on its head so quick. And once the Texans lost momentum, there was literally not one thing they could do to get it back.
They were up 24-0 and got outscored 51-7 the rest of the way, which is mind-boggling.
Absolutely insane. With, 30 rushing yards at halftime? Patrick Mahomes having 25 on them?
25.
Yeah,
While I agree with you, the Chiefs was a great win. You couldn't be more wrong about this because what the Tennessee Titans just did was something that absolutely nobody thought was possible. Everyone's like, yeah, I mean, I guess if the Titans can run the ball and maybe force a couple turnovers, it's like one of those, like, hey, I'm down by 50 in fantasy going into Monday Night Football. All I need is X player to get 250 yards and a couple touchdowns, and I'm good. You say it as a kind of half-hearted joke, and you just kind of go along without your day. And then when it's actually happening, you're like, oh, my God, did I just speak this into existence? The Titans absolutely shook up this whole playoffs with defeating the Patriots, who were the team of the first 20 years of this decade, and the Ravens, who were the team of 2019, because nobody thought anybody could beat the Ravens a couple weeks ago. And I think that this is more impressive from a coaching perspective because Mike Vrabel does the hard thing. He says, Marcus Mariota, I don't care that you were drafted and you were supposed to be the guy. You are not getting it done. I don't care that you're supposed to be the franchise of this, or the quarterback of this franchise. Give me the guy who I brought in to be my insurance policy. And just doing something that simple lit a fire under this team. If you told me or who told any of us, whatever week it was that Ryan Tannehill was put in as the starting quarterback, if you said to that person, this team is going to beat the 14-2 Ravens in Baltimore in the second round of the playoffs, nobody would have taken you seriously.
Go like 6-2, 7-2 as a starter to end the season, something like
exactly.
that?
The Ravens were hot. The only team hotter than them was the Titans, and with the right game plan and the right personnel, they made it happen. And I got to say, that is extraordinarily impressive because personally, I guess I'm just not that impressed with the Texans. They're underachievers habitually every year.
Really quick, right before we move on, I'm glad you said the word simple because I think it's hilarious that we have like these new offensive regimes, the Sean McVays, the John Harbaughs, the Kyle Shanahans. But what wins championships? Run the football, play good defense. Titans are doing that.
And speaking of Kyle Shanahan and another guy you missed, Matt LaFleur, who many people consider to be in that sort of realm.
Very true.
We have the other side of the coin here, the AFC, NFC. We're going to the NFC. we want to know, guys, which is the more intriguing matchup to you in the NFC Championship? Is it Aaron Rodgers versus Jimmy Garoppolo, or is it Kyle Shanahan versus Matt LaFleur?
I think it's got to be Shanahan versus LaFleur. Like, I just harped on the coaching. So this screams like, I know we talk about trap games from like a player's perspective. This is like a trap game from a coaching perspective. Yeah. Kyle Shanahan is the golden boy. He is what Sean McVay was the last 2 years. He is the offensive mind in the NFL right now. And it feels like all years that the Packers have just kind of coasted along, and somehow they're 13-3, but no one on that team really gets credit. Obviously, LaFleur is doing something right there. They have won so many close games. It feels like every game they win, it's like they'll be up 10 and they'll win by 2, or they'll be down 12 and they'll come back and they'll win comfortably in the end. So whatever he does has that team clicking, and it's super, super interesting to me because Kyle Shanahan leaves all of his cards on the table every week. You know he wants to run the ball, but you don't know how he's going to do it. And Matt LaFleur is just like, hey, Aaron Rodgers, you hand the ball off whenever you think it's appropriate, and when you want to throw it, you go ahead. I'm hands off. So I really think there's a lot of differences in the coaching styles here, both in terms of how they think about and of how they call the game. So I'm very interested in this. On paper, the 49ers should wax the Packers again because they've already done it once this year. And that's the mark of a good coach. Are you a good enough coach to look at that game film more times until your eyes can't stay open and figure out what went wrong and how you're going to avoid doing that again in the same building you got shellacked on Sunday Night Football in? So that's what I'm interested in to see. As far as I'm concerned, this game is either going to finish with San Fran winning by 30 or it's going to be a field goal game. There's no middle ground for me here. I don't know. That's
funny.
How I see it.
And I think you make a great point with the Shanahan versus LaFleur matchup because I think they're very similar in their styles of coaching, both like a high-tempo offense, but they couldn't be more different in how they go about that high-tempo offense. That's pretty interesting. But I'm going to have to go with the other side and go Jimmy G versus Aaron Rodgers because we have two quarterbacks that to me are very different. We have the very hands-on, kind of erratic, I like to do it my way, Aaron Rodgers versus the laissez-faire, hey, if we win, we win, I don't care how it happens, in Jimmy G. And I think a playoff game, especially a conference championship game, is going to come down to I need one of my best players to make a play. And we've seen so many of these games. We just watched it last night with the Packers and Seahawks where someone's going to have to make a play. And if it comes down to the end, Jimmy G making a play or Aaron Rodgers to make a play, I mean, come on, we're on the side of history now. How many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers do it? I think it's going to be very interesting to see. And I've called on Jimmy G a lot this year. He's answered it most of the time, but none of it's been in the NFC Championship game. So that's going to be very interesting to see who's going to make a play. I'm going to have to side on Aaron Rodgers that way, and I don't really want to.
Even in that Seattle game, it just felt like he just turned the switch on for a couple plays.
Yeah.
Like his touchdown passes were both perfect. The second one was just like
magnificent.
He knew exactly what was happening before that play started, and that's really, I think, the biggest difference between the two because Jimmy G is just not at that point.
He's just not like the playmaking ability that only Mahomes, Rodgers, and Wilson and select few have. Jimmy G just doesn't have it yet.
It comes with experience.
Absolutely.
We're going to switch coasts now, guys, because we got to bring Philadelphia into this picture somehow. So one of our guys, Andy Reid, is still alive in the field. Big Red. If you don't shoot Big Red, then you know what to do. So should the city of Philadelphia root for Andy Reid and the Chiefs to win it all?
Absolutely, unequivocally, 100% yes. If you're like a Philly sports fan or an Eagles fan, and you're not at least grinning at the fact that Andy Reid has a chance to win a championship after all he's done, after all he's been through, both coaching and personally, like, I mean, I think even if you're not from Philly and you don't have a vested interest left in the playoffs, you're probably rooting for Andy Reid a little bit. Guy who's never stood up any kind of trouble, deserves all success in the world, and went to the Chiefs when they were really down, brought him back right away, and even when his star quarterback went down, he went and drafted someone and completely changed his offense night and day to fit that quarterback and did it the right way, and he's out and he's reaping the benefits of it. So 100%, any Eagles fan should be rooting for Andy Reid.
It's hard to like try to argue with him. Absolutely not. Like unless for some reason you were just so filled with hate and rage that you haven't somehow found a way to let go of all those Eagles failures from the early 2000s after the Super Bowl win. Look, I'll say this, if they didn't win the Super Bowl a couple years ago, I'm not going to hold anything against anybody for having all that hate in their heart. That was tough.
Really?
I was a little kid, and that still burns me up to this day. Just thinking about remembering year after year, like kind of getting just that shot in the gut that you don't really know what's going on until you really get fully invested into sports. But even as a kid, I know that. So I would say this: if we didn't have the Super Bowl, I would say yes. Everybody copes with grief in different ways. So yeah, hate Andy Reid all you.
But why is that?
But we got that Super Bowl now.
On Andy Reid, why is that on Andy Reid?
Because it has to fall on someone. He was the
Put
coach.
it on McNabb. Put it on McNabb.
Hey, most people do. Most people do. I think that's a package deal right there
That's
in terms
true.
of where that anger is going towards. But look, at this point, if you still have beef with Andy Reid and you still are not wishing him well,
You gotta check yourself.
exactly. You're a hater. You're a straight up hater at this point because the dude is one of the best coaches in the NFL. And to this day, it's like, oh my God, how does Andy Reid not have a ring as a head coach kind of scenario? So go Chiefs.
So we're gonna figure out who wins the ring right now, guys. Real quick, Super Bowl preview. Who's playing 3 Sundays from now?
I said it a couple weeks ago. Chiefs 49ers, baby, and I will take the Chiefs because the quarterback play is all you need in the Super Bowl.
Quarterback play.
It's guard play in March Madness. It's what ultimately it comes down
Speaking
to.
of March Madness, you still have a pretty good bracket. There's a lot of green in your bracket. If we were doing a March Madness for the
That's
NFL
very
playoffs.
true. Mine is all red.
All
Mine is
red.
the Titans. The
I
Titans messed my.
hit on the 13-4 and the 5-12 right next to each other.
The Titans messed me up, but you're right. Quarterback play wins out. The 2 best quarterbacks left in the playoffs right now are Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, so I'm going Chiefs-Packers.
I think that is the most exciting Super Bowl, in my opinion. And guys, right now, as we are speaking,
It
the
is
national
also the-
championship is going on. Who do you think is going to win that?
Go Tigers. Also, Go Tigers.
No, I'm sorry, but there was a video today that surfaced of one of the LSU Tigers wide receivers going to shake Cam Jordan's hand, and that was supposed to be the center of the video. In the background, it's Ed Ogeron talking about eating good gumbo, and I'm sorry, it stole the entire video. It was so funny.
It's too hard to be. The weird times where it doesn't happen in pro sports ever, but the weird times where collegiate title games line up with home field advantage, like this is as home field advantage as you can get for LSU.
So you are going LSU because they're both Tigers.
I know,
I just realized.
but they don't say go Tigers like that. It's in the
Yeah,
Carolinas.
yeah.
I'm going to Orange Death Valley.
Okay.
I was all on LSU until about a day ago. I watched on social media LSU release clip after video after hype video after hype video after hype video.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And the first one I was like awesome. The second one I was like cool. As it got to the third, fourth, fifth, sixth one, I was like, ooh, y'all are doing a little too much. And then I went to Clemson's page. There is one video and they released it today. Silent killers. I'm much more scared of a defending national championship team who is still undefeated, who waxed off Ohio State.
Same quarterback.
Same quarterback, same head coach, same core players, and is silent and confident. I'm way more worried about that team.
Clemson, LSU.
They got to lose at some point. It's so hard to just go back to back undefeated.
LSU has so much more to lose, though. Clemson doesn't have anything to lose. They're playing on the road. They're the underdog. Like, hey, just go out and win.
Well, we'll see who wins shortly here. But right now, guys, we got to head to tap outs, close out the show. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead first.
I can go first.
Mine's behind
I got a
me.
pretty simple one. I have reconnected mildly with the joy of reading. It's nice.
As
just,
have I.
It's nice just to disconnect and like, I don't know what everyone at home watching does for a living. I stare at a computer screen all day, man. Like, I love getting home and going on my computer and messing around and watching stuff and seeing what Antonio Brown's saying on Instagram Live today and all of that as much as the next guy.
God.
But sometimes you just got to have your brain, go into low power mode because I don't want to say shut it off because then you're not, actually,
Living.
Engaging.
you're not soaking in what you're reading.
Right.
But it's nice just to kind of go, dim lights, maybe some quiet, music in the background, all
Get a
instrumental.
nice cup of wine.
Exactly,
Or something.
and
I
just
hear you,
read.
Max.
And just read. If anybody's looking for a good book, Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence People. Great life skills, kind of get yourself on
I was
track.
about to ask the genre of reading you like. It's like
Yeah,
life
it's
skills.
one of the most recommended and decorated books of all time, and it seems like a great book for someone in our situation, as in someone who needs to talk, whether you're on a camera or you try to sell or you do customer service. If you need to interact with people, this seems to be a great resource to do so. I'm 2 chapters in, loving what I'm reading so far, and in general, it's just nice to find joy in a hobby that I used to do so often as a kid before technology really exploded and real life caught up to me as I became of age with college and work and all that stuff. So yeah, that's it for me.
I completely agree, and I hope that I get to where you are one day. I really want to get back into reading. My type out's pretty simple. I'm sure which camera I'm on this one. I'm sure you guys all at home can see that I'm about to bust through this suit jacket right now. How was that, like a month and a
It's at
half,
least a month.
a month and a half ago? Our great host here, Sean Northgrave, forgot his suit jacket. We wear suit jackets, so he had to go in the back and get a fellow co-host on MyNEWPhilly's her old suit jacket. Her emphasis on the her. And then today I forgot my suit jacket, and I had to let's get a good view of what we're working with right now.
No, let me get a full take.
Go ahead,
Let me get a full
go ahead and
take.
give him a spin.
Oh
Go ahead and give him
man,
a spin.
look at what's
We're
going on.
full
I
take.
can't do too much of it. The zippers are crazy. I'm actually mad about a little bit about how much I fill it out, but I'm dubbing this officially the punishment jacket.
I like it.
If any of us, which I will not ever from now on, if one of us forgets our suit jacket, you cannot go bare. You must feel the shame and humiliation of wearing something that my 12-year-old sister would probably wear.
I'll have to wear that thing like a cape in the old days. 'Cause I'm telling you, and
I had to
for
get,
the sake of not ripping that on camera, I can't fit in that thing.
I had to get one of our assistant producers. I had to get my man's Brian to help me like literally put it on. Like I'm like this, and I'm like, B, you gotta help me out here, man. It's not gonna come on. I had to enlist some help. So that's my tap out. Always be ready, kids.
Props to you for getting out ahead of it.
Yeah.
It would the images would have leaked. TMZ would have been all over.
First of all, I know there's at least one comment in there from our old EP Zach James in there busting on me, and I know there's probably a bunch in there too. So I tried to steer into this game.
Damage control. It's all about damage control.
So I got a quick two-piece tap out for you guys tonight. One, if you want a book recommendation and you took my original recommendation of watching Watchmen on HBO, go ahead and check out the graphic novel by Alan Moore. It is phenomenal. It's like the best thing I've ever read. I really could not recommend that any less. And January 17th, Mac Miller's new album Circles comes out.
Yes.
I'm trying to go to one of the live visual shows in New York next week, which seems like a really good time. I'm very excited about
R.I.P.
that.
Mac.
I'm gonna
R.I.P. Mac.
cry like
I'm
gonna cry like a goddamn baby when I listen to that.
It's going to be incredible, just from what I heard on Good News. But that's all we have for you guys today on Trust the Process Live and another amazing episode. So with my guys Max Coolish and James Jackson, I am Sean Northgrave, wishing you well, Philadelphia, as we sign out from the My New Philly studios. And remember to catch us every Monday right here only on My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly.
Oh, I can't throw this too
Go
fast.
You underhanded it.
First you 40-28.
First underhand paper toss.
If I went over the hand, this is ripping right here.
Tommy John surgery for that jacket.
Someone needs to get this off of me.
Why did we choose this song? Not that I'm complaining.
It's great.